everybody, AJ Ryzik here, and today we are doing a 3-month review of Ubuntu 14.04. Now, I know this is a little bit different than the way I normally do things. Most of the time I install a new operating system, play around with it for a few days, and then do my review. In Ubuntu 14.04's case, I've been using this as my main desktop system for roughly 3 months now. Give or take a little. So I've been able to spend a lot of time working with this system, and part of my reasoning was, there's already tons of Ubuntu 14.04 reviews out there, and they were all similar to what I normally do. First impressions, here's what I found so far, whatnot. Okay, I'm approaching this from having played with this system for about 3 months now. So kind of what I liked, what I didn't like. Because there's sometimes you'll run into things that at first oh, I really don't like that, but then after you get playing around with it a while, it's, wow, this is starting to grow on me. So your tastes change and whatnot, but anyway, so you can see what I thought after 3 months of playing around with the system. So probably the place to start is the stuff I liked, stuff that worked well, that sort of thing. And let's just start with the installer. We'll go to the beginning, so to speak. Great installer. I'm not going to say it's the best out there, because that's kind of a matter of opinion, but it works great, installs flawlessly. I set up my desktop, my laptop, my son's laptop, my stepdaughter's laptop, did installs from a couple of friends. Everything worked out great. So, nothing there that, to complain about or whatnot. So that's great. Stability is great. I have not had any crashes. None. I've had software that I installed on this system that crashed, but me being the person I am, I'm playing around with beta and alpha software, and yeah, that stuff's gonna crash. Caden Live crashes occasionally, but that's going to crash on any system. But as far as anything in any Ubuntu software, any part of the operating system, no, it's all working flawlessly. So big thumbs up on that. So stability is good. Some of the options that they've given us back, some were old options that have been added back. Some new options as far as tweaking the system are great. Let me go over and pull up my settings here. Alright, so for starters, let's go to the appearance. This screen right here, pretty much the same, but you can hide the launcher, you can not hide the launcher depending on what you like. Personally, I like it hidden. Get it out of the way. You can play around with the sensitivity. Do you want the menus to display in the Windows title bar or in the menu bar? All those options. Great stuff there. Being able to add the online accounts right from here, that's really nice feature right there. And then moving on from there, go back over here to these settings. I got with the Unity tweak tool, all the stuff that you can tweak within Unity from here. Great stuff. The hot corners, the window snapping, workspaces, all the stuff that you can change on the panels, the launcher, all of this kind of stuff. Different animations for the launcher. If you're doing the auto hide, fast and slide, fade, all that kind of stuff. Plenty of options to tweak it just the way that you want. Fonts is another one. When it comes to Linux systems, I think that um, how would I say it? The font rendering itself is better on Ubuntu than just about any other distribution. Now, I know there's plenty of people that don't like the actual Ubuntu fonts, and that's fine. Pick a different font. But as far as the actual rendering, I think the rendering is great. For you can tweak all the various themes that you use. And personally, I've been using this gnomish gray for a while. Really like it with this particular setup. So launching programs is another good, another high point, at least in my opinion, of Ubuntu. We've got this launcher over here on the left hand side. You can pin various items to it if you like. Make it as long or as short as you like. You can add a couple of extensions to add, I guess you want to call it groupings. I use a plugin or extension. I don't know what technically you want to call it, but it's called drawers. And you can see, like, let me click on this on my settings drawer here. If you click on it, I've added all these different setting type of things right here to this drawer, just for quick access. And I've got a couple of things where I've done that on here. Like I've got a games one here. As you can see, I don't have too much in the way of games. That, in fact, it's all the kids stuff. Graphics, I got more, a few more things in the graphics. And it's been kind of convenient when I've been testing groups of software. Like for an upcoming review, I'm going to be looking at the Calligra Office Suite. Well, down here on Calligra, click on that. See, I've got all of the various applications for Calligra so that I can, quickly go through them one at a time. There is another program. Let me take a look at my notes over here so I can find it. It is called Unity Launch Folders. Uh, Basically the same idea. Works similarly. You've got some options for tweaking that launcher. Now, if you're not into the launcher, that's okay. Personally, let me move this little thing out of the way, put them over here. I'm a keyboard kind of guy. I like my keyboard launchers. So, and having been on the Gnome desktop for a long time, I was used to hit that Windows key or super key, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people are offended by using the word Windows. Uh, anyway, hit that super key and type in what you're looking for, and boom, you're on your way. Basically, you've got the same thing here with the dash. It's a little different, but similar. So, you hit that Windows key and start typing something. So, like, I was looking at the Calligra stuff before, and you can see not only it pulls up my Calligra drawer here, but all the various Calligra programs in here. And you can use it for searching everything, searching just applications, searching just files. So it's pretty flexible there. And then you got this filter results up here. So pretty nice nice search right there. Like, let's say I was looking for just the a file. You can see it's pulling up all my Chronicles of Aria Prime files, and because it was similar, it's pulling up Chrome also. So all that's pretty cool. The one thing, and it's not really a bad thing, but while you can do the filtering and then kind of the category thing down here, the filtering is a little bit clunky. It'd be nice if that worked out a little better, but kind of, it's one of those it is what it is kind of things. All right, so let's take a look at some of the stuff that I was not quite so impressed with. And we're going to start with my all-time pet peeve, the software center. As you see, you wait for it and wait for it, and finally it shows up. Okay, and okay, so it lags a little bit. Well, the problem becomes is that, okay, if I want to go in here and start adding stuff, and once again, it lags a little bit while you're waiting. Okay, now you've got to go and, like, let's say that you just set up your installation. You've got a bunch of software to add. So, if you are using Synaptic Package Manager, you start typing in all the stuff that you need: LibreOffice, Calligra, Office Suites, VLC. Just start listing it all, and then you can go and select, 20 different software packages, hit install, and just let it crank all that stuff out. If you try doing that with Ubuntu Software Center, it will crash and freeze on you, and not necessarily in that order. um, it really can't handle doing, no, I wouldn't say more than one thing at a time, but uh, give it more than 2 or 3 packages to install, and all bets are off. Um, I've gotten to the point where when I do an installation of a Ubuntu based distribution, I go to great lengths to make sure that I don't have to come to this place, and which is a shame for the standpoint of all of these reviews that are on here. It would be nice, if it's a package that you have not worked with before, you're like, well, let's see, what other people thought of it. The reviews are nice. And I'll come here just so that I can check out reviews on a particular piece of software. Um, but when it comes to actually installing something, I avoid this like the plague, which is, like I said, there's other ways around it. You've got, uh, Synaptic Package Manager. You can use GDEB. You can install via terminal. So there's other ways to do the installation. But for a distribution that touts itself as for the new user, and ease of installation, and ease of installing software and all that, the Software Center is terrible. Um, and why this has not been fixed earlier is beyond me. I mean, to me, this is, if you want to attract new users, this needs to be good. Um, you know, if this was, Arch, and I'm not dogging Arch, but Arch has the reputation as this is the computer geeks, or the computer gurus distribution. Okay, I would give it a pass then, because those people are most likely going to use the terminal to install, maybe Synaptic, but probably the terminal. Um, what the reason why, like I said, I've got no words for, why isn't this fixed? And we've been, the software center's been around for a while, so you've had plenty of distributions and updates and whatnot where you could have provided an updated, software center. And at least for me, it doesn't have to look different. It just needs to work. Um, you know, uh, and there's other software centers out there. Other distributions that have software centers that work great. There's the Muon Software Center with the Kubuntu and Netrunner. They use that also. Linux Mint, they've got their own software center. There's a couple of third-party ones. So I mean, there's options out there. Take a little hint from those guys and get this thing to work. So there's my rant on the software center. Like I said, this has been one of those things that has been under my skin for a long time, and why they don't fix it, I have no idea. Okay, another kind of issue for me is Linux kernel. Um, Now, 14.04 came with 3.13 kernel, so not bad, but even at the time of release, not the latest. And I think we're now up to what, 3.17 while at the time that I'm recording this. But we're still on 3.13. With your 14.04 distribution, and even as the updates roll down the pike for 14.04, we're still not getting a new kernel. Um, Now, for a lot of people, the kernel thing is not going to be a big deal. Um, Me personally, since I like to play with the new stuff when it comes out, I want to be able to play with the new kernels. Um, Depending on if you're trying to do some development on Ubuntu, you're probably going to want the new kernel. Now, that being said, you can go and install the newer kernels on Ubuntu, but it's not a quick and easy way to do it. Now, it's all terminal commands and whatnot. So, and I don't know, it's not real difficult to do it, but it is somewhat time consuming. You got to pay attention to details, um, because if you screw up, you could potentially really screw up your system. Uh, you know, the Manjaro people, they've got a kernel installer. So, and you go to this installer and it shows you, okay, right now you're running 3.13. Here's a list of available kernels that you could run. Pick one to install if you want to install a different one. Boom. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. Why Ubuntu can't install something like that, I have no idea. Um, so I have that gripe. And probably my final one is the default look. And as you can see, my look is definitely far from default, but the default icons, I don't like. The default wallpapers, no. The default, header bars and whatnot, no. I don't, to me, it's a dated look, which is fine for some people. Some people like the look. Hey, that's great. To me, it, like I said, it's just it looks dated. So please get yourself some new icons, Ubuntu team, some new colors. Invest a little time and whatnot on the artwork and that sort of thing. Make it, dress it up a little bit. But that being said, that's only a few gripes. It's definitely a good operating system to work on, and obviously you're never going to be able to please everybody. Um, all in all, it's a great operating system to run. There's huge community support um, behind Ubuntu. Not only Ubuntu, but the various distributions that are based on Ubuntu. Um, and for me, at least for me, that kind of where the Ubuntu thing comes in. I really like the Ubuntu base, but I think I prefer um, one of the other Ubuntu flavors rather than straight Ubuntu. And you know, at least for me, it gets back to that Gnome 3 experience. I love Gnome 3, and personally, I think that while I liked Ubuntu, I think that going back to um, the Gnome desktop is where I want to go. Uh, Moving forward. Okay. Um, I guess I'd like to talk a little bit about software now. And, you know, I've said it before that Ubuntu comes with a pretty wide variety of software pre-installed, and it should cover most bases. I've added other stuff myself just because of some of the work that I do. I need the extra video editing and screencasting software and stuff like that. I'm a writer, so I've got some special writing software. So I'll show you some of the stuff that I've added, and some of it may not be interesting to you, but some of it may give you ideas like, oh, that would be useful for me. So let's take a look at some of that stuff. Um, for starters, up here on the top bar, little coffee cup symbol right there is called caffeine. That you can use that to enable and disable your screensaver. Very nice if you need your screen to stay active for a certain amount of time, but maybe you're going to walk away for whatever. Um, I sometimes use it for when I'm shooting the videos. Otherwise, you got to keep playing with the mouse every few minutes, which I tend to do anyway. But um, just FYI, it keeps it open for you. This little gem right here allows you to switch your various audio input and outputs. That can be a pretty useful tool for you. Of course, various indicators. I've added Dropbox. I usually use that for my online storage. And let's talk a little bit about Compiz. And I did an entire video on Compiz effects, so and I'll throw a link on here if you want to see that video. But here's the Compiz manager. Lets you go and add and change, modify, tweak, all that kind of stuff, different effects. And personally, let me go and pull up a couple of more windows here. See, okay, I got a couple windows here now. If you watch, see how they kind of switch around and all that kind of stuff. That's one of the Compiz effects. So that's an effect that I kind of like that effect. For showing my various desktop sessions, I use the wall expo. Some people like the desktop cube. I like the wall effect, and I've actually got a quick launcher for here for going to the workplace switcher. And if you click that, you see it goes to all these different workspaces. You just pick one and click. I like it better than the cube. Some people like the cube, or there's an effect down here. You can transform the cube into like a drum, or put gears in the middle of it and have them pop out 3D windows from it. Just all kinds of stuff you can add. If you like the wobbly windows, you can add wobbly windows here. So lots of Compiz effects. Like I said, see that video I did on Compiz, and if you're interested in those kind of effects. And let me move this little picture out of the way. All right, let me open the dash here, and we'll just look at all of the applications that I have. Not necessarily everything that I have installed, but all the stuff that I've added myself. Amazon Kindle, that is actually Kindle for PC, added via Play on Linux. You can also add it via Wine. If you go back and see my video on adding applications with Play on Linux, I talk about how to add this. Real simple and easy to do. Just be sure to use an older version of Kindle for PC, rather than the latest version. The latest version doesn't play nice with Linux yet. Okay, BleachBit. If you've used CC Cleaner before, BleachBit is the Linux version of it. Works, or not version, but works the same way. Definitely worth looking at. Calibre, however you pronounce it. I always butcher that. Ebook, sorter, converter, all that kind of stuff. Nice piece of software if you work with ebooks a lot. or do a lot of ebook reading. Um, this whole Calligra suite, I'm actually in the process of testing this. This is like the KDE uh, version of LibreOffice. Um, like I said, I've just started playing around with it. Um, I think it's got potential, but still needs some work. Cheese Webcam Booth is what uh, comes by default for your webcam needs. It's a nice application, but I prefer GUVC video. That's what I use for most of my videos. What else have we added here? Of course, Deconf Editor. I can't remember if I had to add that or if that was installed by default. In either case, if it's not there, be sure to add it because it lets you tweak all kinds of little settings. Okay, where are we at here? What else have I? Oh, the Evernote web right here. That is actually a Chrome application link to my Evernote page. Same thing with if you see the other social medias like Facebook here. I've added quick links to those, and you can see Excel right here. I do have the entire Microsoft Office suite uh, on this computer installed via Play on Linux. More, I more installed it so I could do the demo on how to do the installation than using it. I've used it a few times just so that I could go and compare how well conversions went from say LibreOffice to Calligra and then over to Windows, or not over to Windows, but over to Microsoft Office and back and forth, that sort of thing. Really, I don't use it that much. Feedly, that's another Chrome link. Focuswriter is a writing software that I'm playing around with, and keep your eye open for a review on that. It's a free piece of writing software. Still playing around with it, so uh, my opinion will be kept to myself for right now until I've completed my testing. GDEB package installer. Definitely get that so that you can install Debian packages without having to go through the Ubuntu Software Center. Normally for my email I use Evolution, but I have put Geary on here so I could play around with the latest version. Typically I do use Geary on my laptop though. Very nice lightweight email application. Google Chrome needs no introduction. I am a Chrome fan. I prefer that over Firefox. I know a lot of people are Firefox fans. Hey, that's all right. I always use Chrome just because with doing YouTube videos, promoting through Google Plus, all that kind of stuff, it just makes sense to use the Google product. Yes, I know it's not open source. A couple more quick links there. Homebank is an open source banking software. Kdenlive is what I mainly use for doing my videos as far as the editing end of things. What else have I added? Oh, I had, rather than sticking with plain old Nautilus, I am running Nemo on here for my file manager. I like Nemo better. A lot of extra features that it has. Um, let's see what else we got. OpenShot. I occasionally use OpenShot for video editing, but my main video editor is the Kdenlive. But OpenShot is a good alternative. You can't go wrong with either one of them. Popcorn Time. If you want free movies, get Popcorn Time. Scrivener is the writing software that I use for novels, and it's I think I paid $35 for the software. It's definitely worth the money that I paid for it. And I just want to talk a minute about the sunrise calendar. At first, when it first started showing up in Ubuntu and other distributions, it's like, what is this garbage? But I'm really liking the sunrise calendar now, just because with the sunrise calendar, being able to go and uh, add to my Google Calendar, basically this this one little tool allows me to synchronize my laptop, my desktop, my tablet, and my Android phone all together. And as far as the calendar goes, and I love it. You know, once I finally kind of figured it out, it's cool. It's great. Um, all right, what else we got? That oh, and I put the I've got the Kingsoft Office Suite right here, and I really haven't used it that much. I more wanted to play around and see what it was all about and whatnot. It's not a bad suite, and in fact, you're limited in that you have only a writer, spreadsheet, and presentation program. But what it does very, very well. And I think that covers all the stuff that I've added. Um, and yeah, I think that's all that stuff. Well, that about finishes up the actual review, okay. But I want to take a couple minutes to do a few announcements. First of all, big thank you to all of my new subscribers. Picked up a bunch recently. Big old thumbs up to y'all for subscribing to my channel, because I know everybody's probably seen the little ads that pop up across the bottom of the screen. How could you help but not see them? But anyway, the ads, they get me ad revenue, and that helps pay the bills. And the more views, the more, you know the whole story behind that. But anyway, big old thank you for watching these videos, and the more views, the better. Those views and clicking on the ads and all that kind of stuff, that definitely helps out with paying those bills. Anyway, so there's that. What I've got coming up, I've had a couple of requests for spending a little time in the KDE universe, so I'm going to be doing that, and I haven't quite decided yet. I don't know if I'm going to switch my main distribution to a KDE based distro, or whether I'm going to add another partition to the hard drive and have a KDE based distribution there that I'll go for doing the reviews and whatnot. I haven't quite figured that one out yet. And I'm kind of torn because, as most of you may know, Gnome 3.14 has come out, and I'm really itching to play around with Gnome 3.14 and add a distribution that's running that. Speaking of which, last night I downloaded the alpha of Fedora 21 with Gnome 3.14, so I'm going to, at the very least, I'm going to install that up on a partition on this hard drive, play around with it, and hopefully we'll do a little Gnome 3.14 review there. But anyway, back to the KDE thing. Not sure, if I'm going to make that my main distribution or not. But I have already downloaded and installed Netrunner onto my laptop, and I did a Netrunner review, I don't know, a few months ago. But anyway, so I was familiar with Netrunner, but past week or so I've gotten to play around with it a lot more. And for those of you that follow me on Google Plus, and if you're not following me on Google Plus, do so. But anyway, for those of you on Google Plus, you've probably seen my posts about playing around with. Let me find it here. There we go. playing around with Netrunner on my laptop. So let me grow that, and I'll throw my picture out of the way. And that right there is my desktop on my laptop. Went with a thing. It's called Nauvoo Gray. Is what the icon theme was called. Um, this is what is called the kicker menu. Um, and originally the panel was across the bottom. I moved it to the top, did a little tweaking, moved the your time, and then actually if you click on it, you got a drop down calendar. But I kind of moved that to the center, a la Gnome, kind of the way that Gnome shows up. They had it over to one side. I did that, made a little tweak there, and then you really can't see it in here, but I've got if you run your mouse over to the left hand side, I've got a launcher that'll pop up, which is actually another panel that I added. And it kind of reminds you of either the Ubuntu Unity launcher or also Gnome. Let me see. I think I did another Yeah, there's another desktop. There in this picture, you can see the launcher right there, and then that's one of the other KDE menus. I was playing around with the different ones, see what I like the best and whatnot. So anyway, as far as KDE goes, I'm going to do some various KDE distribution reviews. So I'll be doing that, and then I'll also do a few KDE how-tos and that sort of thing, as well as some KDE based, or at the very least Qt based software. Like, for example, I'm already looking at the Calligra Office Suite, which I've got over here. And just kind of a heads up on it. I think they've got some good ideas here. There's a few things that at least so far I've found that would be issues for me personally, but depending on your situation, it may not be an issue. And just as an example for that, their writer, which is called, I can't remember, was it where is it? I can't find it now. Calligra Words, that was it. Calligra Words, you cannot save into doc or docx format. That may not be a big deal for you. For me, for my work, that basically just made the software useless because as a writer, almost every publisher or whatnot that I send my work out to, what format do they want? Doc or docx. So it's a killer for me. But anyway, I'll kind of go into that in more detail when I do those reviews. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this review here. If you got any more suggestions, requests, all that kind of stuff, be sure to leave them down below, or find me on one of the social networks. Google Plus is where I am most active, so click the Google Plus icon or whatnot on my profile and go there and follow me and whatnot, and we can keep up on Google Plus. Anyway, once again, thanks a lot, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.